So if your business is currently in contract with a phone carrier provider, it's really important you determine what is the contract end date. For example, when you originally signed the agreement, which could have been 5 to 10 years ago, there was a term on the agreement. The term was either 12 months, 24 months, or 36 months. Now you might think, well, I fulfilled my term on month to month, but that's not always the case. You have to pull out the terms and conditions and look up the auto renewal clause. In it, it'll tell you what is the length of your auto renewal. Again, the renewal clause could be 12, 24, or 36 months. So it's critically important on your journey to buying a Voip phone system to finding out your contract end date and to notify your current phone provider that you do not want your contract auto renewed. Two things might happen. Your account will be activated to month, which then you're free to go out in the market and evaluate Voip phone systems, or they're going to disclose an early termination fee to you. That's basically a big number that if you leave, you have to pay. So the first step in your journey to a Voip phone system is finding out your contract end date and communicating with your phone carrier provider that you don't want your contract auto renewed. So on average, a Voip phone system costs $25 per user per month. So for example, if you have 20 phones at your office, simply take 20 times 25 and that will be $500 a month. And that will be an ongoing monthly service. So also you'll need phone hardware and installation services to getting the phone equipment at your office. So again, if you have 20 phones and you require on-site installation services, you can estimate about $100 a month for the rental of that phone hardware and labor services. So if you take $500 a month and $100 a month, that equals $600 a month. It's a really good average for a 20 user business on how much this technology will cost. The carrier you were paying for local long distance toll-free lines, you no longer have to pay them, so that's an eliminated expense. And also, if you were paying for maintenance fees on your older phone system that was in your office, you no longer need to maintain that system, so the fee for that older phone system goes away. I broke it down into 8 features that clients tell me they really like. For example, you get new IP phone hardware, so the quality of the instruments are much more improved from currently the one you're using. The second best feature is mobile applications. Everyone has an iPhone and a Droid at your office, so you can load a mobile app, and it really helps using the phone system much easier and much more effectively. If a client leaves you a voicemail, it can email you with text transcription. And again, that's a really popular feature that most people like, as opposed to just checking a voicemail on their phone. Number 4 is end user phone software. Each employee at your office has the ability to log into their own portal. This gives them really sharp features like visual voicemail, visual call logs, click to dial features. So within the phone user portal itself, you get an array of features you didn't have in the past. Number 5, the ability to record calls manually and automatically. So if you need to go back to a conversation you had 2 weeks ago with someone, it's very easy in your phone software to go find that recording and listen to it as a WAV file or forward it off to another user. Number 6 would be if you're a call center environment. So with Voip phone systems, the ability to give advanced call center reporting, analytics, if you have a heavy inbound service queue with multiple staff, call center could potentially really help your business. Number 7 is CRM integration. The new IP phones on your desk can integrate with many different software programs. So the top 2 that I think that are really popular are Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics. So if you're using Salesforce, you can click to dial right out of your program. You can have inbound screen pop. So if a client calls you, you could see through Salesforce the customer's information right away. And there's deeper integrations from there, but that gives you an idea of where it starts. And the last features that clients tell me they really like are instant messaging. So that's internally with your coworkers. You can instant message each other through Voip phone software, and video collaboration. So if you're working remotely or if you intercom someone, you could actually talk face to face with your coworkers. When it comes to new wiring at your office, there are 4 options and variables to think and talk through. Number 1, you could simply share the IP phone with your current cabling environment. So that means the computer and the phone share one cable. There are some downsides to that, so you would want to be careful before you just do it. You'd want to talk to your IT vendor to make sure it's okay with your network. Number 2 is if you have Cat3 Ethernet. So let's say you have an older phone system that's 15, 20 years old. The wiring it's connected to is called Cat3. So we can install a FiberEdge appliance on site which reuses your Cat3 Ethernet to work with IP phones. What we like about this is it still separates the phone and the computer network, and you could reuse your existing wiring, so you don't have to invest more money into new wiring solutions. The third option, and this is the most ideal, is if you're in a new office environment that has a Cat5e or Cat6 cabling for computers, and you have Cat5e or Cat6 for phones. So that's the best of both worlds because you're completely separating the networks and you don't have to invest any more money in wiring, and the IP phones will already work on your current wiring environment. And the last option is you could just avoid wiring altogether and go with wireless IP phone technology or soft phone technology with headsets. Now, there are technical things to talk through before you go ahead and do that, but those are your 4 options at your office. If you don't know where to go or what to do, we could come on site and do a site survey, or you could talk to your current IT vendor, which may be able to give you recommendations. We recommend 2 types of IP phones with our service. The first brand called Polycom and the second called Yealink. What we like about Polycom is they have a wide array of options. It's called the VVX series of IP phones. So the options go from the 301 to the 401 to the 501 to the 601. And additionally, they have a huge array of conference room phones that could fit for your business. We also like Yealink, which happens to be the number 2 manufacturer in the voice over IP phone space. And what we like about Yealink is they have a model of phones called the T-Series. So you have a huge array of options for desktop phones. Additionally, Yealink has made really nice cordless phones and conference room phones. So between Polycom and Yealink, your business has huge amounts of options, and you just pick and select what's right for you based on your end users, based on your price point, and what you like the most. The biggest problem with Voip, the number 1 issue that could go wrong, hands down, is bad phone call quality. So that means if you're making a phone call on your new IP phone and there's jitter, echo, static, and just terrible audio quality, the human brain has no tolerance for bad audio quality. So what we do to solve that is early in the process, we team up with your IT company, the company you outsource your IT services to, and we get really aligned on technical design. Your IT hardware, firewalls, network switches, wiring, your internet circuits, and IP addresses. So early in the process, we make sure that the design for your VoIP phone solution is flawless and makes sense with your current IT environment. So when we go to deploy a new phone system installation, we're already partnered with your IT company, and then you, the end user, has a high quality functioning phone system, not something that you deeply regretted you purchased. The second biggest problem with VoIP phone systems going wrong is the actual day of the installation or the go live date. So many providers out there will ship you phones and a router in a box that show up at your door. So the day of the installation and the port date of your phone numbers, you're expected to plug in the phones yourself. What that typically can do, there can be a lot of confusion, there can be a lot of running around and scrambling and not being properly prepared to deploying the VoIP phone system. So our solution to that is we actually come on site the day of the installation and the go live date. So there'll be a trained technician or 2 at your office, there'll be an end user trainer, there'll be a manager checking in on how your client experience is going. So in our experience, on-site delivery of a new VoIP phone solution is a much better experience than a remote deployment. The third biggest problem with VoIP phone systems going wrong is when you, the client, aren't educated on how to use everything. So naturally, you and your staff get excited. You get new IP phones, you're getting all this new fancy software technology that's supposed to make your life better and run your business more effectively. Well, if no one takes the time to show you how to use it from your perspective, you're never going to utilize the technology as effectively as possible. So what we do to make that a better experience is we prefer to go on site to train you and your staff on how to use the phone hardware in detail, the end user portal in detail, the administrative reporting capability, and all the nuances of the phone system. We really train you on site. Additionally, after you're trained on site, we would give you remote training so you can just get even more familiar with how everything works. The fourth biggest problem we observe in the voice over IP phone space is when you actually need service post-installation. So let's say you get a new VoIP phone system, you're gonna keep it for years to come. So naturally, you're gonna have to call in for service from time to time, or for programming changes, or for training, or for whatever functionality you need changed on the system. So in our experience, if your calls are outsourced to India, or go possibly to California with a different time zone, or go to a bad service provider, you're just gonna have a terrible experience and you're not gonna wanna call them. So ultimately, all that happens is that your phone system begins to suffer because you don't even wanna deal with the problem that's in front of you. So if the internet or power goes down at your office, there's ultimately 3 options we can work with. The most ideal option is that you have 2 internet circuits at your office. For example, Verizon Fios and maybe Cablevision Optimum or Comcast. So if one internet circuit fails, the other internet circuit kicks in, so your inbound and outbound phone calls work real time with no interruption in service. The second option, if your internet or power fails, will be we can route your incoming calls to a virtual auto attendant, which in turn can point to cell phones, remote IP phones, or even just let the client leave a voicemail, which gets emailed to the right people at your office. And the third solution, and this is depending on your office environment, if you have 2 locations and one office location fails for internet or power outage, we can just route the calls to the site B, or the second office location. So the staff at the other site can handle all the calls and still, conduct business on a day-to-day basis. So what happens to your existing phone and fax numbers you've had for many years? Well, of course they're yours. You get to keep them. And there's a word you're going to learn. It's called porting, or LNP, which stands for local number portability. When you upgrade your phone system to a voice over IP phone system, those phone numbers port from one service provider to another. Now, I do want to stress the importance of the following numbers when you evaluate your line list. You have your phone numbers on your phone system, you have fax numbers, you have possibly direct inward dials, also known as DIDs, also known as private lines. You have toll-free numbers, and you also have credit card and alarm lines. I do want to stress the credit card and alarm lines will not port to a voice over IP phone provider. That would stay behind on an analog line provider like a Verizon. So how does the installation process work? Well, there's really one of 2 options. You can get an on-site installation package or a remote installation package. Customers that prefer an on-site installation package, we provide an on-site technical site survey, on-site installations of the phones, on-site wiring services, and on-site end-user training. And post-installation, we have the ability to roll a truck on-site to your office for any break fix, troubleshooting, or anything that you need us for on-site services. On the other side, there's remote packages. Now, this is fine if you have in-house technical IT talent, or if you have a really strong IT provider that wants to handle the on-site side of the installation process. So in a remote package, we would work with someone at your office to ship out the phones, to make sure they're plugged in correctly, to provide you with remote end user training, and to provide you with remote services. So again, there's no right or wrong. It really depends on what you as a business, on what makes the most sense for you. An ideal client for Teledata Solutions is a privately held business located in northern or central New Jersey. Typically, that customer will have between 10 to 250 phones or employees, and we tend to lean towards, we service clients in multiple industries, but we tend to lean towards the service trade organizations, legal, medical offices, engineering firms, or multi-site office locations with their headquarters in New Jersey. If you have less than 5 IP phones at your office, we're not going to be a great fit for you. or if your business is located outside of New Jersey. If you feel like your business is in the market to replace your traditional older phone system with something newer and you don't know where to start, feel free to reach out to me and I'll help point you in the right direction.